Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Of course, sponsored by the amazing Morgan Trinkets. We'll get to all of that a little bit more later. I'm your host, Keith Brugman. I'm not the only host. I got 3 of the 4 horsemen all dialed in. Jody's probably checking his last updates, getting his notes already. He's ready to go. So I'll say hello to him first, since now he's all dialed in. He's ready. Welcome, Judge, to the show. It's good to see you, sir.
What is up? Bo Nix is a starter. Let's go, baby.
That's right, man. That's right. It's been a while since we've seen Jody on the screen. Bo Nix, name number 1. Jody, I'm going to have you say just a few seconds, man. You've been calling for this. You've been excited about this. Make sure you turn your mic back on and tell us what it meant when Sean Payton came to that podium and told everyone Bo Nix is our starter. He's number 1 for week 1.
It's a new era in Denver. We're eating $85 million on a soon or future Hall of Fame quarterback, probably. But this is a quarterback that has 61 college starts. Very mature, 24, married, can run Sean Payton's offense.
Yep.
We haven't seen a lot, but what we've seen, if you just watch from game 1 to game 2, some of the footwork problems that Payton called out, a lot of that was corrected. A lot of his passes accurate. A lot of people say, well, didn't Russ dink and dunk? The difference was this is timing. I mean, he gets the ball in and out. It's not Russ holding the ball 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds and then throw a check down. It's all timing routes. We're moving the ball. Every drive except for one fumble by Kroll, he's led scoring drives. I'm excited. And I think Sean Payton is too. This is a guy he wanted. And he's done everything that's been asked. So there's no reason. This team won 8 games with a quarterback that could not run Payton's offense last year. We just get better quarterback play this year. I think this team can be fringe playoffs and is competing very quickly.
Very good, man. Let's go, Bo. I can already hear it. Let's go, Bo. Let's go, Bo. Yeah, Bo Lee, man. We'll get more to your upgrades, downgrades. The judge has got a whole piece here in just a little bit, but we got to say hello to the Rocket Man, Mr. Trevor Salzman. By the way, Scott's coming in. He's ready too. He says it's party time, Rocky Mountain style in Broncos country. I'll get to some more comments, but Trevor, welcome to the show, man. It was just less than 24 hours ago I was talking to you on a pretty exciting night, but we're excited again for this night as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always exciting now when you get to talk Broncos football, and especially with you guys and all of our fans. But again, a huge shout out to Howard Griffith. I mean, for coming on and just being an awesome guest. I mean, just a class act all the way around, and just very happy to get a chance to talk to a 2-time Super Bowl champion. It's not like you don't get that opportunity that often. So it's something that's going to be near and dear to my heart, and I just can't thank him enough for being on and just being so great. And it was a great show. So if you haven't, anybody hasn't got a chance to watch it, go back and watch it, because you can't miss that kind of interview. He was just fantastic, and a lot of information from the players' standpoint, not just the fan standpoint, from a player standpoint on, what kind of behind the scenes, everything it takes to be a Super Bowl team, which I think is a great light to push onto this current team right now on what it's going to take for these players to get back to hosting that Lombardi Trophy again.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to be in the running again. Can't wait to be, just feared to be prominent, to be, just have some substance, and I think that we're well on that path. If you, like you said, if you missed that interview with Howard Griffith last night, check it out. He talked about where he thinks the Broncos and Bo Nix are headed, and I think you'll like what he has to say as well. So I'm going to hit a few comments. I'm going to do my best impersonation here. I don't care if Monday's blue, Tuesday's gray, and Wednesday too. Thursday, I don't care about you. It's DVR Fridays. I'm in love. Evening, fellows. Thanks, Kenny. I appreciate you coming in with a little bit of throwback 80s rock, maybe 90s. I think it was 80s. I can't remember. Michael Ronquillo's coming in and saying, good evening, Keith, Trevor, Jody, giving us the big orange and blue hearts, clapping it up for us. Appreciate you, Michael Ronquillo. Always a fantastic supporter. And I just got off the phone with this gal, my sister, Leanna Bentley over there. But Leanna's decided that she's going to help us out a little bit. She dropped 1,000 stars. So, sis, thank you very, very much. That's amazing. You didn't need to. You didn't have to. I already thanked for you for the last time. You didn't need to come back in. But, man, I appreciate you supporting me and supporting the show and Trevor and Jody and Albert and everything that we do over here at Denver Bronco Roundup. So, got to say hello to Roy Osborne. He says, hey there, horseman and the posse, multitasking it tonight. Well, we appreciate you. Don't do anything that's dangerous and multitask with the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. You can always check us out on YouTube later. Rewind the feed on the Denver Bronco Roundup Facebook page of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. So be careful out there, and much love to you as well, Michael. Yeah, Trevor, I think you hit it right off the bat, man. It feels like a little numb coming off of last night, man. But I think we have a fantastic lineup, a fantastic show. And, man, August 27th is right around the corner. That's the day that we'll be back on the air. It's Tuesday, August 27th. But that's also 53-man cutdown day, man. It's right around the corner, man. It happens quick. And we're going to get to a lot of these guys that we think that may or may not make the roster. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But I want to get to Jody's piece, because Jody hit us up with this idea, this thought. I wish I had a fantastic graphic. I wish I would have had the time of it for that, or even the thought process around that. But Jody has a list of players that have exited the Broncos and a list of players that are kind of the assumed starter in their position, right, Jody? I won't take any more thunder. Tell us about your upgrade, downgrade list and what you got going on, buddy.
This radio show I listen to, and this guy, he's pretty good. I like him. I'm not going to call him out, but he specifically named 7 starters that Denver has lost from last year's team that have played over 500 snaps, and that was his one main reason why he thinks Denver will not be as good as last year.
Gotcha.
And I went through and named off figured out the 7 new starters and wanted to figure out, was it just an easy thing to say we lost 7 starters without doing any research? Did we upgrade? Did we downgrade? And just go one by one and see, did we really upgrade? And we can start on the offense. The first one, the most obvious one, Russell Wilson. Did we upgrade Russell Wilson to Bo Nix?
Let's go through this list. I want to go through this one at a time. We'll let maybe throw it to one or both of us, and I'd love to hear the posse get involved. So let's just go through this one at a time. Let's not rush it. So first one on your list, quarterback. What do you got, buddy? Again, and who do you want to answer? I guess you could say.
Both of you guys can. And then I'll just make mine quick. At the end, I had 4 upgrades, 2 downgrades, and 1 probably even.
Okay, fair enough.
Russell Wilson is the first one. Is Bo Nix an upgrade to Russell Wilson? And my quick, simple answer, it is, because Bo Nix fits Sean Payton's system where Russell Wilson did not. If you're talking 2013, 14 Russell Wilson, then no. But this is 2024 Russell Wilson, and he doesn't fit this system. So I had that as an upgrade.
Right.
How about you guys?
Trevor, I'll let you go first, man.
I mean, I think it's to be determined, to be honest. But I think, you know, from a system standpoint, I do think it is an upgrade. 'Cause like you said, Jody, I think Bo Nix does fit Sean Payton's system a lot better than Russell Wilson. That I think that's pretty clear. I will say, though, I don't expect Bo Nix to put up Russell Wilson numbers like he did last year. You know, 26 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. I mean, I'd be a little surprised if Bo Nix put those kind of numbers up in his rookie year. You know, so from a production standpoint, number wise, if we're just number picking here, I would say no. But from a scheme perspective and going forward into the future, I would say yes.
Okay, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire because Jody said upgrade, downgrade, or even. If you had to put Bo Nix, upgrade. Okay. Yeah. Kenny's saying hard pass. You can't say upgrade, in my opinion, until he plays meaningful games. Roy's saying, I've been saying that for a while now, Kenny. So Roy's right on board. There were not hard pass. I guess that would be, in your opinion, no, and not an upgrade, or if it's equal. I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts are, Kenny and Michael. I'm going to say absolutely yes. I'm sorry. You could probably tell if you were listening to this podcast near the end of the season, I wasn't all that excited about Russell Wilson, where he was at and where he was headed. I don't think what we've seen in preseason with the Pittsburgh Steelers is an anomaly, and I'm not going to put it all on the feet of the offensive line either. Part of it's going to be on Russ. He's a very specific quarterback now that he's aged that you have to scheme for. And that was not going to work last year in Sean Payton's scheme, and it's certainly not going to be working in the future for us or for maybe the Steelers as well. So I'm going to say upgrade right off the bat. Let's continue the list, Jody. Who do you have second on your list?
Before we go on, I was going to say, as part of this is also what Russell Wilson does in Pittsburgh. Like I said, right now he just doesn't look very sharp. So I guess part of mine, and I want to explain mine a little bit more as far as why I think it's an upgrade. Maybe not an immediate upgrade, but definitely down the line, I think it's an upgrade for sure. I don't think we're going to see it right off the bat because I am kind of I am with Roy and Kenny. We got to see Bo Nix play meaningful games. You know, this preseason is great that he's getting his feet wet and starting to knock that rust off and get, familiar with the scheme and the system. But we need to see him play meaningful games before it's a for sure upgrade. But I do think as time goes on, we're going to see it trend more towards that upgrade over Russell Wilson.
Yeah, like you said, Kenny's on board with you. He's saying even right now, Keith, I need 4 weeks of home games and away games, or 4 weeks and just in general, it looks like. Hopefully not 8 games altogether. Maybe he's saying 8 games altogether. Roy's still to be determined. Scott's coming in. He's had a few comments. I've been trying to figure out, read between the lines. So I'll try to read between the lines after the show. But he's saying upgrade, numbers will tell, but the future looks bright, and love this positiveness with his teammates. Yeah, truly a leader in my opinion as well. Jody, Jody, getting all my names mixed up anymore. Jody, which position are we heading to next?
The second one was Jerry Jeudy and I have 2 guys, was Tim Patrick coming back from 2 years off an injury, and free agent Josh Reynolds. Is that an upgrade over Jerry Jeudy? And I had a yes again. And there were more reasons than just on the field. Jeudy was immature off the field. He got into it with Steve Smith. He never really fit here for being the number 1 draft pick for the Broncos a few years ago. Maybe he pans out in Cleveland, new change of scenery. And Tim Patrick, he was a guy I didn't have making this roster to begin training camp, and now I have him solidified as he's your number 3. He's your slot guy, and he's taking Marvin Mims' spot in this starting lineup. So I have that as an upgrade as well. Those 2.
All right. Who do you want to go to first, buddy?
Trevor. Go ahead.
I think it is an upgrade for this team, although I would love to have seen with Bo Nix as the quarterback if he would fit better in this system, Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Jeudy still has a ton of upside still left in his game. Will he ever reach that upside? I'm not sure. But I think what Tim Patrick and Josh Reynolds gives you is 2 veteran wide receivers that, for the time being at least, they can be that veteran presence in this wide receiver room. Because, right now, the younger guys that you have, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, don't seem like they're going to be big parts of this football team this year. So I do think it's an upgrade for this team. But I would be curious, if Cortland Sutton doesn't put up big numbers this year, would have Jerry Jeudy been a better fit in this Sean Payton system, getting the ball quickly over the middle of the field with Bo Nix than Cortland Sutton? But for the right now, yes, and for this team, I do think it's an upgrade.
Well, I'll take the opposite side. Not that I'm gonna be loved because everyone's saying this is an upgrade when it comes to Pearl and Roy and Michael Ronquillo coming in. Pearl's saying that Tim's going to be the number one. But I'm going to be right here with Kenny, I guess. Another even for me right now, to be determined, with upside for Patrick. And I'm going to be right on line with that. I think Tim Patrick is possibly the best opportunity to knock Jerry Jeudy out and say that it's absolutely obviously an upgrade. But Tim Patrick is 2 years removed. Tim Patrick is, a little bit older when it comes to wide receivers. And, Jerry Jeudy's a number one overall pick that obviously wanted to change of scenery. He was the one who asked for a trade from Sean Payton last year. He finally got it this year, so maybe we will see the best of Jerry Jeudy someplace else. And I can't necessarily say that that Tim Patrick and or Josh Reynolds can fill that void in that particular. I'm kind of like what you said, Trevor. It'd be interesting to see what Bo Nix could have put together. So I'm gonna be on that even for me right now with Kenny. Jody, let's keep it rocking, man. Where are we heading next, buddy?
The next one I have is the center position, Lloyd Cushenberry to Luke Wattenberg. I think this is the biggest downgrade we've had all off season, and I think Cushenberry was definitely a cap casualty because of the Russ deal. And I've been disappointed at the center position altogether. Everyone had high hopes for Alex Forsythe, and that has not panned out. And I think that's a weakness on this team, and hopefully we get good guard play and it kind of covers up some things. But for me, it's the biggest downgrade that we lost this offseason.
Well, you're getting some agreement here so far from Roy, also from Pearl coming in saying it's a downgrade. Michael Ronquillo saying it's a downgrade. Unless you want to go a different direction, I'll have Trevor answer first, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a downgrade. I think, for sure. The Broncos historically just don't pay centers, honestly. I know Sean Payton said that it's an important part, establishing that offensive line really sets the kind of the mood for the team. Overall, from an overall standpoint, it's something you want to put your assets and your resources into, but they didn't prove it this offseason by letting arguably your third best offensive lineman go. And that's behind Meinertz and Bowles, in my opinion. That was to where Cushenberry was on this team last year. Wattenberg, for me, just hasn't taken enough of a step forward right now. So right now, I think it is a downgrade for the Denver Broncos. And again, even if the next best center comes into Denver, if Wattenberg pans out, I don't know if they're going to pay him. They've let plenty of centers just kind of walk out the door in the past and have been, not willing to pay them. So, but I think for right now, I think it is a downgrade, and I think what we may look back onto this and say that Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey contracts, they might have kind of killed the whole Cushenberry coming back to Denver situation.
Good point. I like that. Sometimes you have to connect the dots, and the financial dots could very well prove out that a couple of big contracts really hurt the opportunity for Cushenberry to come back. You guys know, if you've watched this podcast, I was a big Cushenberry fan. Coming out of LSU, Joe Burrow center, intelligent guy, was taking steps forward. I think another team saw that. He got paid. Don't get me wrong. He got paid. It would have been a tough bullet to try to take. But that being said, yeah, when you lose a guy that's getting paid that well, and you don't know who's going to be your center because no one's really stood out, and maybe in my opinion, I still like maybe our third string option, or probably the best at this point. Yeah, it's a definite downgrade. I'm going to agree with Scott coming in as well, saying center equals definite downgrade. Kenny came in. I've had this comment up for a while. Said big downgrade right now. Hopefully it can become even or close during the season. And Roy's coming in, says our three centers are not that good. So everyone's in agreement with you, Jody, on that one. You had a few downgrades on this list, and you nailed it right there with the center position. Where are we going next, sir?
To the defensive side of the ball. So we went from my biggest downgrade to my biggest upgrade. Jonathan Harris to John Franklin Myers. I think this was a steal. Getting him for a 6th-round draft pick. This is a guy that brings pressure up the middle, will help with this run. And to me, this is the biggest upgrade of the offseason for the Broncos.
I'd
Trevor,
agree.
your thoughts?
Oh yeah. Again, I think I agree with you, Jody. I think John Franklin Myers is their biggest upgrade this offseason. I think again, what was it, a 6th-round draft pick, and you got him to renegotiate his contract to even come to Denver. I thought that was one of the biggest steals throughout the draft. That was a draft day trade, and I think the Jets are kind of thinking to themselves, well, yeah, maybe that's the guy we'd like to have back. I don't, the whole Hassan Reddick thing going on there in New York. I mean, him asking out with the trade, and he hasn't even played a down for them yet in the regular season. And so John Franklin Myers, I think he's just a great opportunity to acquire a guy like that. He stops the run. He will help, I think, Zach Allen possibly, push him, a little bit towards being a Pro Bowler possibly this year and really help solidify that defensive line. So I think for sure, definite upgrade from Jonathan Harris to John Franklin Myers, in my opinion.
Pearl came in early saying upgrade. Michael Ronquillo saying upgrade for John Franklin Myers. Easy upgrade. I agree, says Kenny Kirkpatrick. And Roy's coming in. He's saying, yes, big upgrade. Quite honestly, I think we could have put a oversized beach ball out there and been a little bit better than what we saw from Jonathan Harris. No, I mean, all kidding aside, man, Jonathan Harris had his struggles, his big-time struggles last year. And it would have been tough not to find a better upgrade than what he put forth. And hopefully he's out there, he's working better at his craft, and with his new team, he's going to be, a more formidable player. But for the Denver Broncos last year, he wasn't that guy. So John Franklin Myers, even just his attitude that he comes into alone, even just his locker presence, his on the field presence, is an immediate upgrade. And you add in the fact that, he's a great player and he looks like he's going to be formidable upon that defensive line. Yeah, it's an easy upgrade for me. I am going to go ahead and agree with Roy. Yes, big upgrade. I'm also going to say hello to Ernie Mays. He's checking in and saying, hello, everyone. Go Broncos country only, before I turn it back over to Jody. And we hit another position of upgrade, downgrade, and figure out where we're at. Oops, I hit the wrong guy. There you go, Jody. Sorry about that.
The next one for me is middle linebacker, Josie Jewell to Cody Barton. This one I have even, and for a couple reasons. I like what Alex Singleton has done taking over the play calling. I think that has transitioned smoothly, where I thought it might be a little of a problem where Josie Jewell had called the plays the last few years. And I like what I've seen out of Barton. I know it's preseason and it's vanilla, but he's looked fast out there. He looks a little faster than Jewell, can cover. But there are things that Jewell did that are going to be hard to replace. He was not the best linebacker, but he was a solid linebacker. And for me right now, it's an even, kind of undetermined. Hopefully it can pan out. So far, so good, I guess. And you saved a bunch of money from Barton to Jewell as well. So, Keith, your thoughts?
Yeah, Scott's coming in. He's saying he's loving this upgrade, but then it kind of went the other way. Michael Ronquillo's coming in saying downgrade right now. Kenny Kirkpatrick of the amazing K&K Sports Show. If you haven't checked those guys out, I didn't mention that before. Check out the K&K Sports Show. But he's saying downgrade. I actually liked Jewell. And Roy Osborne's coming in and saying even for me. But I'm going to be right on board with almost step by step in line with what you just got done saying, Jody. I love what Alex Singleton has done with the green dot on his helmet. I was worried that he wouldn't be able to play free and have all these responsibilities, but so far I see a guy that's playing just as good, if not better, out there with the green dot. Maybe it's because he is the one who's dictating everything. And then, like you said, I had big worries about Cody Barton, but everything I've seen, whether it be live games, all 22, Cody Barton flies and he gets to the ball and he can cover. So I'm right there with you. The only reason I'm not going to put this in an upgrade is because it's all been preseason. So I got to see it a little bit more regular season to make sure that what I've come to, because I've come up from the other side of thinking this was going to be a downgrade, truly proves out to be positive. But right now, I'll say it's even. But I think this is an opportunity for this to be an upgrade for sure. Trevor, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, I'm encouraged what I've seen preseason from Cody Barton, but I think it's a downgrade right now for me. You know, I think that you have Jonas Griffith, who is on the bubble right now to make this roster. I mean, LaVelle Bailey is a guy that could possibly beat him out. You know, talking about Justin Strnad, I think he's a special teamer, you know, in particular. But for me, I just think losing Joseph Jewell, you know, just his leadership, but just his coverage skills. I think, you know, overall, you know, in my opinion, I think Jewell's a better coverage inside linebacker than Cody Barton, in my opinion. Cody Barton's a little bit better, I think, attacking, getting to the run, stopping the run, and a little bit better of a tackler too. So for me, I think it's a downgrade right now, you know, but because I want to see what Cody Barton will do during the regular season and see, you know, is this a team where he can actually hit on and be that guy? You know, because in years past, he just hasn't been that productive. That's why you've seen the Broncos sign him to that cheap contract that they signed him to. So for me, I think it's a downgrade right now. And unfortunately, one of those positions where I don't think the Broncos were able to get to in the offseason as far as upgrading, you know, on this roster. Maybe somewhere where cut down days are coming up, maybe inside linebacker is a position where they may look to add a little bit of depth to, you know, coming up on, you know, on cut days. So for me, it's a downgrade right now.
See, that's the nice thing, that we allow everyone to be wrong, including Trevor. No, I'm just kidding, Trevor. No, I mean, you know, honestly, we have different opinions, but there is a lot to be proved out. You know, I'm not going to disagree with you there, and I'm not necessarily going to put him in the downgrade, but I understand where you're coming from, though. At the same time, Jody. JC's Weaver's talking a little bit about safeties. Do you mind if we skip over, because I know that you had safety on your list, and maybe we can get to his question as well?
We can go to that one.
All right. Now, what do you got, buddy?
Safety. Justin Simmons to Brandon Jones. This is one that I have as a slight downgrade right now. Mainly for one reason, because Brandon Jones cannot stay healthy. He has not been on the field at all. I don't know that he would make this roster if it wasn't for the big deal we gave him, because he has done nothing this offseason except be hurt. But he's kind of forced in there because Turner Yell is hurt. We got rid of Caden Stearns. But when healthy, and I know some people may or may not like PFF, but he had a higher PFF grade last year than Simmons. Simmons had been on a downward the last 5 years. His PFF grade has slipped. If he can stay healthy and you get a full 17 games or close to it out of Jones, I think it can be an upgrade. But right now it's not, and it's a slight downgrade for me.
I'm going to keep you on the screen here, Jody, for just a second, because I want you to answer JC's question. JC Weaver checking in. JC, nice to see you, buddy. Always love checking in with you, and we should collab on a podcast at some point. But that being said, what's up, boys? I'm hoping for an upgrade via vet signing for the safety position. I know that you're not necessarily excited in that Justin Simmons left, and maybe Brandon Jones having to fill those shoes. What do you think about a vet signing maybe possibly coming in and filling that void for us, Jody?
I don't really see it, only because you just let a vet safety go and then he was on the open market and he took like an $8 million deal. You have that right now, or you could make that happen with a couple simple moves. So I think one, they are all in on PJ Locke. 2, they really like JL Skinner. And 3, they're hoping that they paid Brandon Jones that he can come back healthy and stay healthy. That's what they're banking on. If they were worried about a vet safety, they had one that knew the system right in their backyard.
Fair enough. I'll leave that question just for Jody. Trevor, I'll have you answer the whole Simmons to Jones question. Upgrade, to be determined, or downgrade. Where you at, buddy?
Right now it's a downgrade. I wasn't high on this. I've been pretty vocal about this signing. I wasn't very high on this signing when they made it. Again, I get them, wanting to get a little bit younger and wanting the youth at safety. And I think that's the plan. But again, Brandon Jones just can't stay healthy, can't stay on the field. That's just been his career. I mean, so I'm not surprised he's already hurt. And I wish he would stay healthy. I hope he does, because of course, we want the best for these guys, but he just has not done that. And the PFF grade that Jody was talking about last year was a short sample size. So a very short sample size, and he hasn't played a full season in his entire career. So that's one of those where I'm just very hesitant giving him a big contract, knowing that he can't stay healthy. He's not very durable. That's, we forget that with Justin Simmons. That's what Justin Simmons did well. He did a lot of great things well. Yeah, he wasn't the greatest last year. That's why he was out in the open market forever. And that was part of the reason, I should say, not the reason. But again, what we're going to miss, and I think what the Broncos are going to miss with Justin Simmons, is he was very durable. He was out there. You didn't have to worry about injuries becoming a big problem with him. Brandon Jones, now you're having to worry about that with him on top of his production. So I think for right now it's a downgrade, but I do think that this team is going more to the youth, and like JL Skinner, Devon Key, Keydron Smith are guys that PJ Locke, are guys that aren't going to be depth on this team. And they may be needed sooner rather than later if Brandon Jones can't stay healthy.
Yeah, honestly, I think that Brandon Jones isn't locked into any particular position. Even Sean Payton has been alluding that, there's guys that we still have positions that are open, and we're not going to be naming starters. And, it's not fair to all these guys who are still out there competing and the whole nine. I think this might be one of those positions when you have a guy that's lit it up in the preseason like Keydron Smith, let alone all the other guys on the roster. I can't see how you can say that Brandon Jones is your lock right at this point. Scott's coming in and saying safety Eagles downgrade. Michael Ronquillo is letting us know Brandon Jones will play on Sunday. That's via Sean Payton. So we will be able to get maybe a little bit better look at the investment the Broncos have made up until this point. I got to go back to Kenny's comment, though. He says, big downgrade, Simmons, captain, healthy, Jones, injury prone. There's just one piece I'm going to point out in that, captain. There's a captain that went out there, and I think the reason he sat out on that open market is because he didn't want to take just any old deal. And when the time came around that he wanted to get out there and start mixing it up and playing, he started visiting a few teams, and he signed basically an $8 million contract. Not chump change to go out there and play for 1 year, $7.5 million guaranteed. So there's no way that you can say a captain that went out there and is getting $7.5 million for 1 year on another team is all of a sudden you've upgraded. Not this year. I don't think you can call that, but I love what you pointed out, Trevor. This is a young team. Sean Payton's going to trust in some young players, and there might be some bumps and bruises along the way, but at the same time, I think it gives opportunity for stars to arrive that maybe were stuck on your roster in the past. So, Jody, we will push our sponsor just a little bit longer because I think we just have one more, if I had your list correct. Is that right?
Yeah. The last one is, the last one's quarterback, Fabian Monroe. And I have two guys because I don't know that it's really Riley Moss or Levi Wallace. Sorry. I kind of had this as a slight upgrade. I didn't think that Fabian Monroe was anything special last year. If you get even play from Riley Moss, to me, it's an upgrade. It only can be an upgrade. And Levi Wallace is an upgrade if you just compare the two over Fabian Monroe. I don't think it's a huge upgrade. Riley Moss has a potential to be a huge upgrade if he pans out. Levi Wallace, I think, is a slight upgrade. Nothing huge, but it is a slight upgrade in my opinion. Keith, your thoughts?
If I want to go here, I think it has to be an upgrade. From what we saw, Fabian Moreau, though he came in, he helped us out in a spot, and he was, I think, just a different guy to scheme for at the very beginning of the season when he first came in. By the end of the season, I thought we saw him start to tail off. Now, everything that we've seen from Riley and Moss, or whether we heard about it or saw it in training camp or preseason, this guy's been coming on, and he's been coming on pretty dang strong. And even though I like Damari Mathis, I think that Damari Mathis has his work cut out for him. I think Riley Moss is an upgrade by leaps and bounds. I think he's an upgrade just because of his potential and his youth compared to where Fabian Moreau is at in his career. So for me, upgrade. I'm not going to call it even at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Trevor,
go.
your thoughts, man. Sorry.
Yeah, no, all good. No, I think it's even right now. Honestly, I haven't seen enough from Riley Moss. I mean, again, he'll be the guy I think next to PS2, but again, we got to see in the regular season with him. Yes, so I think there's potential. Yeah, absolutely. But again, last year, I wish he would have gotten more playing time. I don't know why it takes until year 2 for him to get that playing time, be that guy. Just a little concerned with that. Levi Wallace, I kind of think those two are kind of even a little bit. That's kind of why I have it even, because we have not seen really much of a lot from Riley Moss yet. He hasn't really done anything, so for me it's even. But I think probably likely going to be a slight upgrade. But right now I would say just even because of what Riley Moss, just we haven't seen enough of him, and Levi Wallace we just haven't seen it all yet. So yeah, I mean, I'll just say even.
Good. I'll run through these comments really quick. Because I think it's kind of like we guys, all of us were kind of a little up in the air on this one. Roy Osborne is saying upgrade for Wallace. Moss is to be determined. Kenny Kirkpatrick says biggest ceiling as far as upgrade with Moss, but even with Wallace, going from Fabian Moreau to Wallace. Pearl's coming in thinking it's an upgrade. Michael Ronquillo coming in saying it's an upgrade. And then kind of in agreement with you, Trevor. Scott's coming in and saying cornerback equals basically neutral. Ernie May says every player has to step up or they lose their job. Go Broncos country only. It's all about the Broncos only. Yeah, I mean, right now there are guys that need to step up or they're going to potentially not have a roster spot on this Denver Broncos football team. Again, roster cutdowns just around the corner, August 27th. That's Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be tough. I think this is going to be a rough year, but I'm telling you what's not tough. Morgan Trinkets, making purchases from Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets is your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold wholesale prices. They were once a nationwide company. They have 33 years in the business. Now their concentration right there in northern Colorado, southern Wyoming. They do amazing shows, especially during the summer. Check it out. Head on over to Morgan Trinkets, their Facebook page. You'll find out where they're headed next. You'll find out that maybe Pearl had a wonderful anniversary. Happy anniversary to you, Pearl. 38th, if I remember correctly. And more than anything, you can go over there and you can check out all their amazing inventory. If you don't see what you like, message Pearl. She'll let you know what's going on, what she has. She has amazing inventory of beautiful pieces. So all your purchases over there on Facebook go through PayPal, and any purchase over $50 shipped absolutely free. If you check them out at one of their amazing shows, all major credit cards accepted, and you can walk away with your purchase that day. One last thing, if you're into silver, I'm talking sterling silver starting at $10,000 or $10 going all the way up to $2,000, maybe even $10,000. Who knows? Amazing pieces over there at Morgan Trinkets. But check out Morgan Trinkets. That's Morgan Trinkets. I'll drop the link in just a little bit, and make sure that you check our sponsors out. You guys have been fantastic, wonderful supporters, and they've been telling me that oh boy, how beautiful you guys have been by stopping by visiting the site, by seeing them at shows, and we appreciate you guys a ton. So check out Morgan Trinkets. I will go ahead and drop that link here in just a little bit. So we had one question for Jody I want to just get back to. It came in specifically for Jody. This one came in from Kenny Kirkpatrick. He says, Jody, last year's undrafted rookie, Jaleel McLaughlin, or this year's 6th round pick, Audric Estime, if you had to put them on that maybe roster bubble last spot, who's going to go ahead and get that place? Where would you say an upgrade, downgrade, even at this point?
If he's asking me which of the two I would keep, he's going to be surprised with my answer. I would probably keep Jaleel McLaughlin if you have Javonte Williams. I eventually think Audric Estime will be the guy, but right now, if you're keeping Javonte Williams, you don't need two likewise running backs, which really you have 3. If you add Pirine, you don't need 3 likewise running backs. Jalil adds something that none of the other 3 do. He's more explosive, more elusive. So for me, it would be Jaleel McLaughlin out of the 2.
Very good, man. Just to let you know, Michael was on the other side of it. He says running back Audric Estime over Jaleel McLaughlin for him. So, I think it's depending upon maybe how you're rating it. If you had to literally put one of the 2 on the roster, I understand your thinking there, Jody, that, you don't want to have all the same guys. Jaleel McLaughlin delivers something that I think that Javonte Williams has a hard time doing, that Audric Estime has a hard time doing, and maybe Pirine has the closest skill set that would maybe be there, but I don't think that we're keeping along with Pirine for the next year. That maybe segues into what we'll talk about for the next 20 minutes or here. So
I had one other thing. Can I add it real quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely, buddy. What do you got, bud?
When I was doing this list, we had one position that everyone was a massive downgrade, and we did not address this in the draft or really do anything with it, and it was center. How disappointed has everyone been in Alex Forsyth? Everyone thought he was going to take this job. He worked with Bo Nix. And now I've seen him playing guard Sunday. What's his status? And the same thing with Jonas Griffith. We had a couple evens and a downgrade. We didn't address middle linebacker. How disappointed is everyone in Jonas Griffith the same way? I think those 2 guys were why they weren't addressed, and I think they have been massive disappointments. And if we could do it all over again, I think they would have been addressed in the draft.
Before we get to answers on that, I want to just get to a newer name. He just threw up a comment over there on YouTube, or posted a comment. I don't know if throwing up a comment sounds the best, but he says Zach Allen said this has been the best group of guys of any defensive team he has been on. That has been that's had the best communication and camaraderie ever. That gets the most production out of players. Douglas, thank you for joining in, talking about it. I think the camaraderie is absolutely off the charts. I think where this team is at is very exciting. I think Zach Allen sees it. I think Douglas, you see it. I think Broncos country sees a lot of that as well. Trevor,
that's pretty impressive when he played alongside J.J. Watt.
Exactly right.
Defensive Player of the Year. So we don't have that on. He doesn't have that next to him.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. We can wrap this up in a couple of different ways, but the 2 names that you mentioned again, Jody, I know that you were talking Jonas Griffith, but what was the one before that you had mentioned? I'll have Trevor answer that first. Alex Forsyth. That's right. I'm sorry. Talk about Alex Forsyth, and then maybe we'll get into some of the roster bubble cuts after that, because I think Alex Forsyth is one that we need to maybe talk about a little bit more, though.
Yeah, I think he's been a little bit disappointing. I think there was battle at one point in time at center, but it seemed like Wattenberg just always kind of had that upper hand. I think Forsyth, for Sean Payton early on, maybe was a guy that they, wanted to be the starting center, at least compete for that job. I know that they've said, well, there's competition at center. I just think that Wattenberg's a guy has gotten snaps for quite a while now with the starting group. So I kind of think that he's always, at least for a while now, has had that upper hand. But it's a little bit disappointing, but I'm encouraged that Forsyth can be, and I think it's going to help him actually make this roster, is that he can play center, but he can also play guard. Very versatile, and that's what you're missing with Bailey. With Bailey being out, with that injury, you're missing that versatile offensive lineman. I think that's what you need. Quinn Bailey, I should say. That's what you're missing with your, some of these guys, and I think that's what the Broncos are looking for, is that versatile on the offensive line and versatility. And I think it's going to help Alex Forsyth make this roster ultimately, that he can not just play center, but he can also play guard. And I'm encouraged with that, and hopefully he can continue to grow. And hopefully Wattenberg can just kind of handle his own at center, and we don't have to worry about the offensive line this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Can you be disappointed in a guy that you took so late not being the center of the future for you? I mean, I think it was a stretch to try to get Alex Forsyth to be an all-pro center, especially with a little bit of development time that he's had. It'll take some time. And for me, Luke Wattenberg is probably the more disappointing piece within all of this. He's been given lots of opportunity, and it doesn't seem like he's making progression or stacking days like I'd like him to. Jody, I'm going to get to you first, man. You mentioned one name. If you want to go back to that inside linebacker room, you certainly can. But let's talk about those guys that you think are in the last 15 minutes. We'll kind of wrap it up this way. People that you think, actually, I want to get to one thing before you get into it, but think about this. People that you think are really on the roster bubble. I just noticed a comment. I wanted to give a shout out because Luke Smith comes in here and says, "Hey, all, met Keith at Broncos training camp a few years ago. Keep it up and go Broncos." Well, Luke, man, sorry I didn't maybe catch up with you this year because unfortunately I wasn't able to make it. Made it in a couple years in a row, and I hope I get to meet up with you again. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching the podcast, and thanks for shouting out that we kind of know each other on a different level. So after that, thank you, Luke. I want to get it back over to Jody. Those roster bubble guys, man, who do you have maybe at the top of your list, man?
On defense, I have I think Arazawike makes it, but I think he's close. Matt Henningson's one. I mean, he made this team last year, and where we upgraded there, I think that is he may not make this roster this year. And on offense, running back, does Samaje Perine make this roster? Does Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham, which quarterback stays? And then wide receiver for me, if I just went off of production in training camp, Troy Franklin is not making this roster. But you traded up for him. He's a rookie. If you release him, he will get picked up by someone else. There's almost zero chance you get him back on the practice squad. So he default makes this roster. So other guys, Little Jordan Humphreys, Brandon Johnson, both who made this roster last year, and Jalen Virgil, does he make this roster as a return guy? How many wide receivers do we keep? I think that's – and maybe the last one for me, and I'm not really that sold on, do we get rid of Michael Burton to keep Nate Atkins, who can kind of play that H-back role? I don't think so, but I've heard rumors of it. The big one for me, I guess, would be those two D linemen and what wide receivers are you keeping?
Trevor, I'm going to pass it over to you, man. First off, what do you think of Jody's list? Anything you want to pick up out of there, and then maybe a little bit of your own if you have some difference of opinions there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm have a lot of names that he's thrown out there as well. Jalen Virgil, I think that, again, he's kind of still hurt a little bit, so I think you can pass him through practice squad. The thing we have to keep in mind is, and this is what the Broncos are going to do, they're going to go out there and see what players they can pass through to the practice squad. I think that's a big part of this is you're going to like players. They like all these players. But what guys can you pass through to the practice squad, through waivers to the practice squad, and what guys can you not? That will determine a big part of who makes this roster and who doesn't. I think that Little Jordan Humphrey, Brandon Johnson are definitely on that list as far as guys that you may or may not be able to pass through. Nate Atkins, I think you probably could pass through. But I do have Nate Atkins, kind of that bubble guy as well. I think that being versatile really will help you, I think, make a roster. He can play fullback. He's gotten some reps during practice, I should say. And he can play tight end, of course. That's his primary position. But very versatile. Blake Watson's another guy that's just like, I'm not sure he makes its roster. I mean, do you carry 4 running backs? Do you carry 3? What does that look like? I think that if there's a chance that he passes through waivers, he can get onto the practice squad. I would say just give you another roster spot. Maybe you do, he maybe does go back down to the practice squad. Samaje Perine, I think, again, big game this week for him. And then with the quarterbacks, again, I do think that there's a chance they may keep all 3 quarterbacks. I think that's on the table. What Sean Payton said today, and I put it in our private group chat we have. I think Jarrett Stidham's the backup quarterback of this team. He's getting 8 to 10 reps going into Sunday's game. To me, that you're just not doing that without solidifying it pretty much that Stidham's the backup. He's getting 8 to 10 reps. If Stidham was on the hot seat and he's on that bubble, why wouldn't you give him more reps and be 50-50? That's why I think Stidham is the backup quarterback for me on this roster. And Zach Wilson is more playing. Sean Payton wants to see more of Zach Wilson with the twos to see if they want to keep Zach Wilson on this roster long term. In my opinion, that's more or less. But I think Sean Payton tipped his hand a little bit by saying Stidham's going to play 8 to 10 snaps in this game on Sunday, because that's not very long at all. And I think Stidham will be the backup quarterback, and Zach Wilson is the one fighting to be that third quarterback, which I do think Sean Payton likes his upside. But those are a couple guys that I think, again, there's several guys to go out there to name, but those are a couple guys also that I think, are on the roster bubble, and we may, hear some news after Sunday about.
Yeah, I'm going to just say really quick, I'm going to push the other side of that. I think that Jarrett Stidham is only getting 8 to whatever snaps, because how much more do you need to see from Jarrett Stidham? It's 2 years in the system. He's been out there getting reps with, starters and second team and the whole 9 yards. I think you kind of have the tape of what you got in Jarrett Stidham. Now, you don't know what you've gotten Zach Wilson, and that being said, I think that there's still absolutely a competition to who could be the quarterback 2 on this roster heading into this preseason game 3. If Zach Wilson goes out there and he has a fantastic game, you can't tell me that all of a sudden you have a dilemma as far as who your quarterback 2 is going to be at minimum. If not already, maybe Zach Wilson is that quarterback 2. Jody, I know that you wanted to get in on this real quick. I'll give you a moment as well.
Something I thought of, I'd been on the Zach Wilson as number 2 quarterback, but I kind of changed my tune, and only because, like you said, you know what you're getting in Stidham. And if for some reason Bo Nix gets hurt, you're invested 100% in Bo Nix. He gets hurt, Zach Wilson comes in and he plays well. He plays up to number 2 Zach Wilson. Then what do you do? Do you get rid of Bo Nix? Do you play Wilson? Why put yourself in that position? You have a guy in Stidham that can come in and win you games. He's not necessarily gonna lose you games, I guess, but he can keep you in games. And like the Chargers game, someone make a big play because he dumped it off or something. But I just don't like the notion, if Bo Nix was to get hurt and you play Zach Wilson and he plays well, then what do you do? Where do you turn? Look at the Eagles with Foles and Wentz. I mean, there's other examples. You've got to have one guy, and I think at some point Zach Wilson, if that happened, it would cause chaos in the locker room. And Stidham knows his role. He's been a backup his whole career, and I think he's come to terms with that after losing this spot. So,
I have a quick question, because I can pin this a different way too. Do you think that Zach Wilson is last year's Albert O, where they're going to give him a lot of snaps and they're going to shop him around a little bit and see if they can get something back for him? I think there's something to that as well. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to trade Zach Wilson, but I don't think you're giving Zach Wilson all those snaps just to be, see what he plays with the twos. I think you may be giving him those snaps to see if there's, a price tag out there for him, and see maybe if you can get something in return for him of good value. Obviously, I don't think they're just going to give away Zach Wilson, but I mean, I think there's a little bit of that as well in there. And I do think, again, if this is more of a backup quarterback battle, I think Stidham and Zach Wilson would be splitting reps. I don't think that you're shortening either one of those guys reps if this is a real backup quarterback, battle right now. And I think that, you're trying to see if Zach Wilson will make this roster and what he can do with the twos. And B, I think this is attached to it. You may want to see what value he possibly has on the trade market.
I'll just give you my 2 cents once again. I'm not going to be, if I lose Bo Nix, I'm already up the creek. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to sit there and say I'm going to go with the lesser quarterback because he's not going to cause any drama if he goes out there and win, and he doesn't win. Because if Zach Wilson wins, we have drama. Forget that. I think, again, I can't believe that I'm all of a sudden I'm on the train that Jody was on just a week ago, it seems. But for me, the upside, the potential in Zach Wilson, why not continue to foster that? Why not continue to take that number 1 pick and have him learning in the background in a quarterback room with Bo Nix? And yeah, if a worst case scenario, he has to go out there and play, he has to go out there and play. So be it. Bo Nix is still your number 1 quarterback. You're too far into it at this point. So for me, you can't hedge against. I want someone who's maybe mediocre, so there's no drama. You can't. And for me, I'm just to that point where you can't worry about who your quarterback 2 is. If you're worried about who your quarterback 2 is to that level, that you just are going to give away good talent potential because you want somebody a little bit more steady, I think you're shooting yourself a little bit in the foot. So Kenny comes in and says,
you can get good. I think you can get something in return for Wilson. There is, in my opinion, there's bad backup. Look at Brandon Allen, I think, is the backup in San Francisco. Who's Sam Darnold? Who's Sam Darnold? Who do they have? The Pasternaut, where is it? He's the backup in Arizona. I mean, there's bad backups out there. And I go back to something that I'd heard a while back. John Elway always claims that one of the best things for him was having Gary Kubiak as his backup quarterback, somebody that was there to help him, knew what his role was, wasn't there to try to push for that. I mean, you always have that competitive where you want to start and stuff, but Kubiak kind of knew the order. Does Zach Wilson know that? And Zach Wilson, I was picked higher than you. I was in a crappy position. Now I have good coaches. I have a better arm than you. People know it. I can do what you're doing better. And does it cause drama to the point that you don't really need that? And now you've traded Stidham or gotten rid of him. And then Zach Wilson's a problem and you have to get rid of him. And you're now trying to find another backup.
Yeah.
So go find another backup.
Well, also, I think
it's a backup quarterback.
It's easy to say that, though, but look at Kenny's Giants, Jeff Hostetler. He won him a Super Bowl. Where are we at in 2015 without Brock Osweiler? I mean, I think it's an important, underrated, overlooked position.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was just going to say really quick, I think what Jarrett Stidham also has on his back is that there's something to be said with this. He is, and does have that veteran experience with Zach Wilson. And I've said this too, but when he was drafted with the Jets, he was never developed. So he's coming in and he's like, I mean, came in right around the same time Bo Nix did. I mean, and look, we've seen how far that's been. Bo Nix has pushed his way up, throughout the depth chart. And so for me, I just Jarrett Stidham also sat behind Tom Brady. So I'm sure he's learned a few things from Tom Brady in New England when he was in New England. So I think that Stidham has that on his side where, there's a veteran presence for Bo Nix to kind of, rely upon, in that locker room. I know that with the games with Jarrett Stidham and, he hasn't started a ton of games in the NFL, but I think there's something to be said where he was at, previously, in New England, he had Tom Brady. Zach Wilson, who's he had in front of him to learn from behind, he just has never had that. So I think that while there's definitely potential in Zach Wilson, I think with Jarrett Stidham, that he just brings that veteran presence that I think Sean Payton and the coaching staff, and I think Bo Nix is, spoken on this as well. I think he does value that as well.
Fair enough.
Can I answer Kenny's question real quick? You can trade with Zach Wilson. So I think there's enough teams that have horrible backup quarterback play. You can get a 7th or a 6th for Zach Wilson, I think now.
I think you're hoping for that.
And that's why I think you want to play him a lot Sunday, and you've got fingers crossed that he puts good, product on tape, because if that happens, if nothing else, you can recoup your 6 and it's a wash.
Yeah, I think you're hoping for that. I mean, right now, you're all saying that we don't need him, and Jarrett Stidham's the better quality backup to go with in this situation. So how many teams are going to be sitting in a similar situation and want to give you something, knowing that you just didn't basically give anything for him? You know what I mean? I think it's a lot of hope that the GMs on the other side are begging you to sign Zach Wilson, which I don't know how many people are going to be begging to sign Zach Wilson.
Something else I heard too that is interesting. If you got
a wrap, buddy.
If you cut Stidham, he's got to clear waivers. And the prediction was they don't think he'll clear waivers. Zach Wilson, you can just release tomorrow and give him the, hey, I'll sign you back the next day. I'll bring you back. You can kind of do that kind of thing with Zach Wilson, where you can't do it with Stidham. If that's something you want to do, the only risky part they said, or I heard, is what if a team throws double the amount of money at Wilson? How do you turn that down? You have that kind of option with him where he doesn't have to go through waivers and stuff. So,
what I was trying to get to was, and I appreciate that, but I think there's a lot of dynamics that'll have to be worked out as these guys go through the 53-man roster. There's so many rules and so many NFL little pieces that you can move, that you have to move within and can move within when it comes to that. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% on top of it. So, in a situation like that, I think you do need to take all that into consideration if that happens to be the case. What I was looking for, I don't know, Trevor, I know that you have some ability as well. I was looking for Michael Ronquillo's question. I don't know if you see it really quick, but he dropped some stars, and he said he had a question about the special teams. So
I'll look for it.
I apologize, Michael. I'm having such a hard time trying to find your comment. Do you have it, bud?
Yeah, I just pulled it up.
All right, go ahead and he wants to know. I'll throw it over to Jody first, since this was kind of his question of the night, and we'll kind of wrap it up and then get some goodbyes after this. He says, "Is this year's special teams an upgrade, a downgrade, or maybe in that to be determined? Where are you feeling about this year's special teams?" Oh, Mike, buddy.
Mike.
I guess I'm kind of in the middle. I think it can be an upgrade if Jalen Virgil. I mean, he's got tons of speed, and I think he can bring something to that side. It may be an upgrade if Marvin Mims continues to be your wide receiver 4 and isn't playing, where at some point Peyton just says, you're the next Devin Hester or whoever back there, and you're just going to be a return guy. And he's focused 100% on just returns.
All right, I'll go over to Trevor. Your 2 cents for Michael's, dropping stars question. What do you think about this special teams, upgrade or downgrade?
Yeah, Michael, thank you for dropping stars, and we appreciate you being patient with us so we can get to your question and your comments. So I think for me, I honestly think it's a lot of this, the cuts and different roster cuts is going to be happening around the NFL. Is going to be a learning experience for everybody. With the new kickoff rules kind of coming into place, I think that's going to be, and determine a lot of different roles on these NFL teams. So I think, again, I'm with Jody. I think it can be an upgrade, but I think it's yet to be determined just based upon the new rules. And I think some of these coaches and executives around the league, they also know that as well. And it's just like, you're just having to take a chance and kind of seeing what fits. And I think those adjustments will be made throughout the year, because you can call up players as well on the practice squad, and so different adjustments will be made. I think around the year, trying to adjust the best way you can to the special teams. But again, I think hopefully Marvin Mims, if he's not going to be that wide receiver 3 for this team, hopefully he will be that, that Pro Bowl caliber kick returner on special teams as well that you need. But I think it's yet to be determined just based upon the new rules.
I'm going to be saying it's an upgrade. I'm going to be right there with Kenny. What I like is everything I've seen so far in preseason. We have one of the best special team coordinators or experts or hires that you can possibly put on this roster. I just love what we're putting together out there under the new rules and the new platform. We're getting to the returners when it comes to our kickoffs. Will Lutz needs to get a little bit more dialed in on that zone, so he's not putting them into the end zone like he did a few times last week. But that being said, whether it be the returns, whether it be the coverage, I like what we're doing in this new system, and I think that's what you need to take into account is this new system. I think that we've have the right players in place that could be super dynamic, and let's not forget that this is the third phase of the game. We all talk about offense and defense all, year long, seems, certainly all off season long, but special teams doesn't get enough credit. And that's a place where, it changes positions of the field. You're putting 3 points on the board. I think it's a big piece of it. So good call out. I appreciate it, Michael. Jody, I heard you kind of chime in. Do you want 2 more seconds before we go out of here?
Another reason I think it might even just be more even is if you start seeing returns early in the start of the season. I think a lot of teams are just going to say, screw it, and kick the ball out of the back of the end zone. What's 5 yards?
40-yard line.
Then it just go to the 30, doesn't it?
Out of the back of the end zone is a 40.
Or if you just kick it deep and they have to take a touchback, it's only 5 yards, so to the 30. So I think the NFL needs to do something to deteriorate that. If you don't kick it in the box, it's like out to the 40, 45-yard line or something where you force it. And that's what I see. I see a lot of, if returns happen early, teams are just going to say, I don't care about the 5 or 10 yards, and just kick it away.
Yeah, there's been already a push because I think it was in the original rules, and then they changed it a little bit for these preseason games. But there's a call for it to go to the 35, which was in the original set of rules that they went, but they changed it to the 30. I think at the 35, it starts to be in a pretty big detriment if all of a sudden you're getting a touchback and it's a 35-yard line. So I'm going to agree with you there. I'll tell you what, Jody, I'll pass it right back over to you, man. We're just a little bit over on time, but we got to say goodnight to everybody and tell them how much we love them and appreciate them and get excited about Broncos football for preseason week 3 and going forward, bud.
Last preseason game of the year. This is where players make or don't make the roster. Glad to see that the start, in my opinion, I'm glad Bo Nix is not playing in the starters. Get him rested up. I'm excited to see what Sean Payton can do. Now he's got basically two full weeks of prepping for Seattle. I think that's huge for Nix. Payton is going to draw something up, put something together that takes the crowd out of it early, help his rookie quarterback. And for me, sky's the limits with Nix. If he fits like we've seen in the first couple of games, Denver's a lot closer than a lot of people think, and this 32 ranked roster, that's nowhere accurate. And I'm really excited to see what happens here, Peyton and Breeze.
Peyton and Breeze, huh?
Bo Lee.
Bo Lee.
Peyton and Nick. Sorry, Peyton
and There you go.
Peyton and Nick.
He came back down to earth.
Split there.
I'm excited for that because and it might be false hope, but I mean, we've been 9 years of really bad quarterback play, and if we get what we've seen in preseason, we found a gem. So
love it, buddy. I love that you're excited for our brand new quarterback, first round pick. A lot of Broncos country is super stoked for it, and I can't wait to be talking good things week after week about Bo Nix. That's what we're going to put out there in the universe. Trevor, flip it over to you. Say goodnight to everyone, bud.
Yeah, I just want to, again, thank you everybody for sending stars and just, being amazing on another great episode of Bronco Roundup on a Friday night. I hope everybody enjoyed. We had 3 shows this week, of course, having our show, last night as well. And it was a very special show, but again, just want to thank everybody for their support as always and for being amazing. Again, our posse continues to grow. You guys are just continue to be amazing. And all the hard work that we put into it is absolutely worth it. We do it for you guys. And we love everybody. And, hope you guys enjoyed our 3 podcasts a week. We'll be right back at it again during the regular season. So can't wait to break it all down. And, this is a, important time of the year, roster cut downs. And, it's a sad point, for all these players because some of these guys' dreams kind of come to an end. So, I hope that these guys will find, different roster spots on different teams if they don't make it on the Broncos roster, of course, or don't make it on a practice squad. So it's a good time. It's an exciting time, but it's also one of those times where we have to realize where these players are at. Some of these players are going to be losing their jobs. Always think about these guys as well when we're, kind of going through some of these roster cut downs and stuff like that. But just again, thank you for everybody for the support this week, and can't wait to be back at it for another great episode of Bronco Roundup. Go Broncos, and hope everybody has a great weekend.
Yeah, it'll be coming around soon enough, buddy. That those episodes that seem like they roll up on us really quick anymore. Big shout out to Michael Ronquillo wrapping us up this evening, saying good show tonight. Keith, Trevor, Jody, big hearts, big mile high salute, big clapping it up. Appreciate you so much, Michael. Thank you to everyone who is in there supporting, talking, chatting, dropping questions. Certainly those star supporters that we saw throughout the night. We appreciate you so much. Trevor nailed it. We keep growing. It's because of you, because you're out there sharing, subscribing, making sure you're hitting that notification bell so you never miss any time that we go on. Last night was a fantastic example of that. To have two-time Super Bowl winner Howard Griffith come on. We had to do it on a special night. I know there were some people that reached out and said, "Oh, I missed it." Make sure that you're out there, you're hitting that notification bell so you're never missing opportunities like that. Trevor, you mentioned it. I want to touch on it again. These guys out there, they've been working hard all off season, busting their tails, trying to make an impression. I think Howard Griffith made a great example of how, he didn't make it with the Colts. He didn't make it with the Buffalo Bills. He's trying to make it with the San Diego Chargers. And lo and behold, he finally gets his first real opportunity in the NFL, not with the San Diego Chargers, but when he gets picked up by the Los Angeles Rams and he starts being a fullback for Jerome Bettis. Like I said, it was a great interview with him, but that's where these guys are at. Sean Payton said it. You're not trying out for a spot on this roster. You're trying out for a spot on a roster of 32 teams. Hopefully all these guys, if they end up leaving the Broncos, have formidable careers that we only see in the NFL Super Bowl against us. Don't go to any of our competitors, that being said. Broncos country, we appreciate you jumping in here, being a part of the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. Remember, every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:15 Mountain Standard Time. Check out Rocky Mountain Sports Network on all the platforms, including our website. Make sure you're checking out the Denver Bronco Roundup on all the platforms, including, no website there, but check us out. Check out Morgan Trinkets, our amazing sponsor. But until next time, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you guys, gals. Love you so much. We're going to do it like we always do. Make sure you keep your boots in your stirrups, guns in your holsters, and, of course, the Broncos in your heart. Until next time, we're out of here. Good night, everybody.